Basically, I didn't really know what I wanted to do out of high school, so I started at a four-year university, and from there I worked at a golf course that I really enjoyed. I wanted to be a golf course superintendent, so I went to UNL. I did not enjoy those classes at all whatsoever, so I was looking back on something that I could make a career out of, and I went to Southeast Community College in Lincoln, Nebraska, because I enjoyed a little bit of welding in high school. So I figured I should at least learn a trade so that I can take that anywhere in my life and make some money. And that led me to getting a job and eventually learning about an opening here for part-time work. So I was lucky enough to get that, and a position opened up for full-time, so here I am. Well, yeah, I did enjoy welding in high school. We had a couple of projects for our athletic department that I helped our football coach kind of put together with some advice from our shop teacher. So that always kind of stuck in my head. I really enjoy working with my hands, you know, taking a print, putting the material together, tacking everything up and welding it, and seeing a finished product. There's a lot of sense of pride in that, and I think that's what really kind of pushed me towards the field of welding. No, I actually did go to school first. I figured before I jumped into something I didn't really know that much about, I should probably get a little bit of an education first. There's so much you can learn on the job, but I needed to learn the fundamentals first before I went out into industry and tried to get a job doing that. There are a lot of different facets of welding. There's production welding, where you are going to make just the same thing every day. There's job shops where you're going to have different projects, maybe a one-off part. You're going to have a drawing and they just want one thing made. That's custom work. So there's repair welding too, where you might be a maintenance person, where a machine gets broken, you have to weld something back together and fix it. So there's a lot of different options you can go into in the welding field. It's not just always slapping a couple pieces together and welding it up. There's a lot of different processes too. So there's TIG, MIG, stick, oxy-fuel, cutting, welding. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with welding. Well, you have to try and get the student to, you know, accomplish something first of all, and then once they've seen that they've accomplished that, what they've done, they see they've done a good job, it gives them that sense of pride, and then that sort of clicks from there. They want to get better, and that's the main thing with welding, is you always want to get better and try and do the next one better than the last. Probably one of my best teachers that I think really instilled a lot of information and knowledge in me was in college, trade school. Several teachers, obviously, though, they had a lot of patience, because I didn't really know that much about welding at the beginning. So they really stuck by me and helped me out when I had a lot of weak points and helped me through that, and I just continued to learn and grow and keep moving up. I hope the students at Metro would say that I push them for excellence. We don't want to be satisfied with mediocrity. If you go for a job interview someday, a lot of times with welding that involves a weld test also. So if there's several other individuals that want to get that job too, and you all do a weld test and your weld doesn't look quite as good as theirs, there's a possibility you might not be getting that job. So I'm really trying to, what we are really trying to do here is make everybody as best as we can for what they're doing so they can get employed. And that's another thing that comes along with it, is the pride that you get from seeing that nice, smooth, flawless looking weld rather than, you know, something that's a little subpar. You get a lot more pride when you see something like that you've done. There's a lot of shows now on TV that kind of glorify some of the welding, and some of those guys do a pretty good job. And that might give some students a little false sense of glorification that, you know, I'm going to get a really cool welding job. They're definitely out there, but that's not all there is. There's a lot of things that welding entails. Putting together buildings, you know, that's a very important thing that we have to be really good at welding. Our welders have to be certified through the American Welding Society in order to do that, and that's something that myself and the other instructors are certified welding inspectors, so we can qualify our welders to do that. One of my mentors actually works here at Metro also. He's another welding instructor. When I was still going to school, I happened to get a job at Millard Manufacturing, and I was pretty young and didn't know a whole lot, and he kind of took me under his wing, showed me a lot of things, how to put things together. and basically kind of coached me through the whole manufacturing process and kind of helped shape me into the person I am today and the standards that I hold myself and others to also. So he was a really big influence in my life. There's a lot of things happening with technology and welding. Everything is going kind of new age. We're going to be getting a weld simulator here pretty soon to help with our students, so that's something that's pretty cool. CNC is getting big in manufacturing now. We've got a plasma table that can run off of CAD files and things like that, and we're also going to get another machine, a water jet, that does the same thing. But as far as staying current with other information, like I said, we're members of the American Welding Society, and they put out periodicals, and we have meetings, and we also have technical meetings where experts will come in and educate us on a new topic in welding. A lot of people do think that, you know, there's really not much to welding. It's just something very simple, but when students come in here and they start the whole process of taking the classes for welding, there's a lot of print reading involved, and print reading is not all as easy as it looks like. There's a lot of weld symbols and measurements. There's a little bit of math involved too. And while it's not rocket science, there is a lot to learn about welding, how metal reacts, the different types of metals and things like that. I actually have a gentleman that I used to work with. He works at the Henry Doorly Zoo right now. And I went in there with him, and he was kind of showing me around some of the different buildings, and, oh, you know, I made that, I made this. So it's really cool in that type of an atmosphere to really see what you've done. What my students would hope to take from me. Hopefully I would think that they, while they think I'm maybe a little bit picky, hopefully think that I'm trying to instill them the best quality that we can so that they're putting out a good product. I don't want them to be satisfied with mediocre. I always want them to push the limits and be better, make every weld better than the next. They'd probably remember me saying just a couple more, because they show me a weld that looks pretty close, but then I always try and make them do a few more and get better. There's a lot of factors that go into welding, but there's, you know, 5 essential properties, which is like your travel speed, travel angles, work angles, contact to tip to work distance, and your heat input. And each one of those things, if you vary a little bit, can have a big impact on the effect of that weld. It has to have the proper heat input so that it melts those two pieces together efficiently and strong enough to hold. There's continuity of a weld, there's consistency. You know, if the weld puddle is kind of sporadic and all over the place, it might be a good weld, but it just doesn't quite look the best. So we try to get all the qualities of an effective weld as well as aesthetically pleasing weld. You know, you have the high that you get from teaching is basically you're working with a student, they might be having some problems with something and they just can't quite get it. You go in the booth and you work with them, you coach them a little bit, and all of a sudden it all clicks. They get that weld looking right, and they're kind of like, yeah, I got it. And then they keep doing a few more, and then it just clicks and then it works for them. So that definitely give me a sense of pride that I've, you know, got somebody to do what they need to do. My name is Chris Ellinwood. I'm a certified welding inspector and a certified welding educator through the American Welding Society, and I teach welding technology here at Metropolitan Community College.